Good morning, everyone. It's really lovely to be here this morning. And how did I come to the idea of talking about connections? And it came from a place of feeling rather disconnected. Chris had been emailing me saying, what's going to be the topic of your talk? And this is like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's like, I hadn't a clue. Not one clue. I had no inspiration whatsoever. And at one point I thought, well, maybe my talk should be waiting for inspiration. It's like, we'll still be waiting. And then what came to me is, and it really comes from working with heart math and with what we do in our prayer circle, is when we start into a prayer, we connect with the heart. And I was up in my head, it's like, what on earth am I going to talk about? Okay, come into the heart. And coming into the heart, and it works with heart math, and Harv did it with our metta meditation last week, is bring something into your heart that makes you smile, that it arouses that love response. It could be anything. So I went into my heart, and what came was a little white butterfly. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have lots of those in my yard. It's the cabbage white butterfly, or cabbage white moth, it's called more regularly here. And I love it. It's beautiful. It goes all around in my garden, and it gets in the cabbages and lays its eggs. And so it's a pest and it's a pet, and I love it anyway. So thinking about that, I thought, oh, this is how I connect. This is how I tend to connect with more things when I'm connecting in nature. So maybe my talk needs to be about connections. And when I'm thinking about inspiration, it comes from the Latin to breathe into or inspire. And in the Old English, it was drawing of air into the lungs. And when you think, when we breathe that air into our lungs, it becomes our breath, and yet we breathe it out again, and it's no longer our breath. It's a breath that we share. In fact, it is said that every breath we take has been breathed before by other beings. So it's other beings throughout history, throughout the life on this planet. The dinosaurs breathed it, Hitler breathed it, the Buddha breathed it, Jesus breathed it. All the bad guys and all the good guys and all the little insects breathed it. And the plants exhale oxygen and they inhale carbon dioxide. So we're in this give and take constantly. So we connect very, very basically through our breath, which is quite something. So recycle. And back to I talked about the butterfly. So everything, all the glorious weeds and the beautiful flowers, the pests and the pets, all the good guys and bad guys, in this whole universe we are connected. And Harv, leading us in the loving kindness meditation last week, brought us to remembering that we come with loving kindness, we wish happiness for those that we love. We wish they don't suffer and that they're happy. We wish happiness for those that we feel neutral towards. We wish happiness, and this is the tricky one, even towards those that we don't care for very much. And when we think about connections, it goes much bigger than our little group here, than Yakima itself, than the state itself, than the country itself. It's worldwide, in fact, universal connections. And when we get down to it's kind of the nitty-gritty of our daily lives, everything that comes to us comes through a chain of supply. And all these people, and it goes right back to the farmers in the fields producing the food that we eat, the organisms in the earth that are helping the plants to grow, the people who harvest the plants, the truckers who bring it into the grocery stores, and then we get into the manufactured goods that we receive. Some of them are coming from very far away. So it's from factories and workers and from foundries and from miners who are mining the stuff that goes into all of the appliances and everything else that we use. So it's an endless chain of supply. And we are dependent all on that, all of us. And then when we think about how we get into our little bubbles, and we think, well, we're the good guys, and those people over there in China, we don't like them very much right now. I mean, we might have liked them at one point. Right now, we don't care for them. But so many things in my house, and probably your house as well, have made in China on them. And I have to think of the Chinese workers who are producing these goods, and they are ordinary people like you and me. They want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. They have families. They have pets. They have whole lives just like we do. So also, everybody in this world and every creature in this world wants to be happy. And we're connected with each of them. And we look at our connections through time. It's not only just now. We connect way, way, way back. Way back to the beginning of the universe. It is said that we are stardust. That we actually come from the Big Bang. I mean, where else do we come from? And all those chemicals that came together that created the stars and that created the planets, and how on this particular planet, the way things evolved, there was the oceans and the primordial soup where the little cells started getting together and life evolving. And that's where we come from. And I don't know about you, but I have had this feeling for a very long time that I've been on this planet, this consciousness, not this body obviously, but this consciousness, and a very undefined consciousness, just consciousness, not with a name, just consciousness, has been here for a very long time. And I've actually had dreams, strange dreams, that kind of reinforce that. One of them was way back when my youngest son, James, was about 4, and I might have told other people this story already, so forgive me if you've already heard this. He and his little friend Matt were totally into dinosaurs, and we had dinosaurs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We had dinosaur books and dinosaur movies and dinosaurs all over the place. And one night I dreamed that I was a little furry animal in a little hole in the ground or a little cave peeking out onto this plain, and there were these enormous dinosaurs on the plain. And when they were gone, I scampered out and saw the great footprints on the plain. And this was back in the 70s, and I believe that was at a time when it was not thought that there were actually little mammals at the same time as the dinosaurs. I think that came about later. They actually found some little tiny mammal bones on the same level as the dinosaurs. So it's kind of like telling me there's something in this consciousness that already knows that. And I think that's something in all of our consciousnesses. Somewhere we know. And I think all of you have experienced ways of knowing without knowing how you know. You just know. And it's like an intuition or whatever. And another dream I had was of flying up the east coast of South America, not in a plane, not as a human being, just as something that was flying up that east coast. And yet another dream was being on the coast of South America, on the east coast, looking at Africa recede. And it's like, whoa, what's that all about? And again, before, this is back, I think again in the 70s, when we didn't really know much about continental drift. And it's kind of like there's something in me, maybe that consciousness was a rock. And that rock would know that it was separating from its sister rock and becoming, so part of it became Africa and part of it became South America. So this planet, all these continents, were once one continent. And then they divided, and then they're still shifting. So everything is in constant flux and change, and we are all changing with it, and we are all in this together. And then In Indian thought and philosophy, there's this idea of Indra's web, and I think I've mentioned this in a talk before. And Indra's web is like a web of jewels, and it's the whole universe is this web of jewels, and each being is like a jewel in this web, and each jewel reflects every other jewel in the web. So when we think of our prayers and our actions, whatever we do is reflected back and forth. Kind of ties in with the idea, which comes, I think, from physics, that a butterfly flapping in the Amazon can actually affect the weather. I mean, that seems really kind of strange. But when we think of our consciousness and how when we pray, we are actually affecting others. We are actually sending that reflection out into the universe. And it kind of ties in with today's daily word, that we reflect back and forth. And we're reflecting the negative stuff too, because there's the light that goes back and forth, and there's the shadows that go back and forth. And we can't just think that we just work with the light. We have to acknowledge the shadow as well, and acknowledge where we are in conflict with others, and coming to that place of seeing, oh, we wish them well. We wish them to be happy. We wish that they do not suffer. And something that, again, is really kind of mind-blowing. You think of you imagine Indra's web, and it kind of as a spatial thing. You see it kind of as, at least I see it as a kind of spatial thing. But in fact, when you think that time and space are one continuum, so it goes back in time as well. And there is this thought these days that when we heal ourselves, we are actually healing our ancestors. We're actually healing our own past. As we heal our own past, we are healing the past of our forebears. And that's a difficult one. When I first heard about this, it was kind of hard to get my head around it. But it does make sense. And they do know now with biology that the biology, I think, of your great-grandparents actually affects your biology right now. So whatever the circumstances were that your great-grandparents, and I think even further back, they're actually physically affecting your biology now. And that kind of ties in with that same idea that we are connected with that past, and what we are doing now can affect the whole of everything. And I'd like you to, if you feel comfortable, to kind of sit and straighten your chairs, and we'll do a little brief meditation, just exploring for ourselves where we feel connected. So taking a deep breath in and releasing. And as we breathe in, we know that this breath is the same breath that has breathed this planet for eons and eons and eons. And as we release this breath, we give this breath to all other beings. And breathing in again, we breathe in the happiness of other beings. And when we breathe out, we release our own happiness, our own joy. And now when we breathe in, we acknowledge that there are beings that hurt. So we breathe in their hurt into our heart, allowing it deep into the heart. Maybe it comes in as a gray smoke. And the fire in the heart transforms that into light, and we send out the light and the healing and the love and happiness back to those who are hurting. So breathing in again, we breathe in the hurt of others, and we breathe back whatever we have of healing and love. And just stay with us for a few moments, feeling that give and take, that deep connection we have with all other beings. And as we stay with this silence for a moment, if an image comes to your mind of what inspires you, let it sparkle there. Let it be as a guide. Acknowledge it and give thanks. And then release, send that inspiration out into the universe. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And when we come back to the here and now in this country and actually on this planet all over the place, the media likes to tell us how divided we are. Politically, in every possible imaginable way, every way you can imagine. And when we think about it, if somebody holds a door open for you and they give you a smile, you don't know what their political persuasion is. They might be totally on the other side of the political fence that you might have a huge argument with and might want to get into fisticuffs with, but this person opened the door for you and they smiled. And you smile back and you feel a glow and it makes your day. So again, we are so connected. These things, you know, they matter in one sense, but it's very superficial. We are so connected. We all just want to be happy. We don't want to suffer. We have our families and our loved ones and our pets. So we need to acknowledge that. We don't know where somebody else is coming from. Or the driver that cuts us off in traffic. Maybe they're not paying too much attention and they're in a hurry. And have you ever been in a hurry? You know, something like that happens and we can get so mad and angry with that person. We think, oh dear, you know, I've made mistakes driving too. And maybe I have been impatient as well. So again, we come back to recognizing our common humanity. So when we engage particularly in focused prayer, and this is, you know, in our little prayer group, we always start with this heart connection. Because if we're getting into our heads and we're praying, putting prayers out for somebody, we get into our heads trying to want to fix things. And our heads can't fix it. I mean, we might think we know the answers, but that's not the answer. The answer is coming into the heart. And coming into the heart, we can open up and we can release our own thoughts and our own ideas of what should happen into allowing a total healing to happen, to take place, so that we are opening up to this flow of consciousness that we connect with. And it is very powerful. In our little group, we have really experienced some wonderful things. So it's a good thing to do. And this is the other way we really recognize our connections. And the work, you've probably heard us talk of Lynn McTaggart and her work with the Power of 8, with small groups of around 8 people getting together in focused prayer and meditation. And she apparently has started many groups, and she's talking about them all getting together and doing one great big focused meditation for everybody. And it's powerful. It works. It's worth thinking about, it's worth joining into. And I'd like to close by reminding us we're not alone or separated. We tend to group ourselves into little discrete groups, and we're this, we're that, we're this race, we are this ethnicity, we are this political party, but we are all just human beings. And we're all just creatures on this planet. We're not so separate from the animals and the plants. We're all in this together. So let's celebrate that. Let's enjoy this planet and what it has to offer. Let's help heal it because we are in a difficult spot on this planet right now. We're in a difficult spot interrelationally, both within these communities and in the greater world. And we can heal it. We can heal it through our focused attention, through our meditation, through our prayer, and through our recognition that we are not separate. We're all in this together. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Marilyn, so much for sharing this. And now